guys, how you doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lera Mutiga. Karibuni sana. For the returning subscribers, or welcome back. For the new subscribers, I love you so much. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for the support. You've really supported me despite being I've not uploaded for quite some time. Thank you so much, and I'm back like I never left. So let's continue with our farming series, and today we will be looking at how do you plant your arrowroots. What are the requirements? First of all, we all know and we all agree that arrowroots are one among the most nutritious foods that you can consume if you're struggling with your dieting and the rest of the things, or if you want to achieve that goal at the end of the day. As a farmer, it has many benefits to your side. Once you plant the arrowroot, you will be able to get some income out of it. You can use the arrowroots for your family consumption, and for those that buy from us, you also purchase the arrowroots because you know the nutritious nutrients that it has, that arrowroots have, and all that you require, and why you need to consume the arrowroots. Now let's look into the depth of it. How do you plant your arrowroots? How do you prepare your farm till the time that you harvest? Of course, as a farmer, we always say the first thing that you start with is land preparation, and this is how you prepare your land once you want to when you want to plant your arrowroots. The first thing you need to know, arrowroots thrive in well-drained, loamy soil. I see people mostly prefer planting arrowroots in clay soil, but clay soil can lead to poor rhizome development and deformed tubers. The deformed tubers are the arrowroots. Okay, people prefer planting the arrowroots in clay soil because clay soil retains water, high level of water. But the loamy soil is the best for planting the arrowroots, but you have to water them because they require a lot of water for them to grow effectively. Another thing that you should do is prepare the land by plowing and harrowing 2 to 3 times to ensure it's deep enough for tuber growth. We all know arrowroots is a tuber crop. You have to ensure that you've dug or you've plowed your farm deep enough to ensure that once these arrowroots will be growing, they will grow effectively. Another thing is the watering. Ensure proper irrigation, especially during the dry periods. I've already talked about that. Watering is very essential. As long as you've decided to plant arrowroots, always ensure that you're ready to water the plant. They require a lot of water. I think they're among the most plants that require a lot of water after you plant them. Okay, for upload, I will talk about for the areas with limited water. Consider using trench lines with polythene paper to create moisture beds. That is for the people that do not have the accessibility of the water, of the adequate water. I don't think really I'll tell someone to depend on the rainy water or the rains once you're deciding to plant the arrowroots, because it might rain today, it might not rain tomorrow, and these arrowroots require a lot of water. So if you are planning to plant the arrowroots, be ready to water your plants. Okay, to the planting process. I'm done with the preparation of the soil. To the planting process, this is what you require. For you to plant the arrowroot, you will need the suckers. The suckers are the small arrowroots that grow by the sides of the bigger arrowroots. The ones that have already matured, the ones that are already planted in another piece of land and they have matured, they have small arrowroots that grow by the side. Those are the ones that are called the suckers. Those are the ones that you uproot for the planting process. Okay, hole preparation. You dig a hole with a diameter of 1.5 feet and a depth of 1 foot. 1.5 feet and a depth of 1 foot. The spacing from one arrowroot to the other. If you use big arrowroots, maintain a spacing of 30 by 30 centimeters. Okay, those are the ones that have already grown. They are mature more than the small than the small suckers that we are talking about. The ones that have grown more, you'll maintain a spacing of 30 to 30 centimeters. And for smaller varieties, the spacing should be 20 to 30 centimeters. 20 to 30 centimeters. Since we will take the smaller suckers, I'll recommend the 20 to 30 centimeters. But even if you do the 30 to 30 centimeters, that is a normal spacing. It doesn't have that great variety. But make sure you do not plant a big suckers or a big in a spacing of a smaller suckers. Now there will be a problem. After that is irrigation. I've already talked about that. Ensure you always water your plant and apply top dressing 2 to 3 months after planting. Fertilizer is another key factor that you have to consider, of course. So after you plant, you have to ensure that you have your fertilizer. That takes place mostly in the post planting care. That is well noted. After planting, place 4 suckers in each hole and cover them with a thin layer of soil. So in one hole that you have talked about, ensure you put in 4 suckers, the small suckers. If you've put in 4 suckers, you cover with thin layer of soil and you mulch the plant to minimize water loss and weed growth. Of course, as a farmer, you ensure your farm is free from weeds. Weeds are the greatest enemy of a farmer. So ensure your farm is free from weeds and you mulch to prevent the excessive loss of water. And as I've told you, in one hole you put 4 suckers. To the post planting care, manure and fertilization. I've already talked about fertilization. Ensure you put in some inorganic fertilizers to enhance soil fertility. Weeding, ensure you weed. Observe pest and diseases control. So arrowroots are really not affected much by the pest and diseases, but you have to observe on that to ensure that your arrowroots grow without those issues. Additional tips: avoid shaded areas. This is because they reduce the yields. The shaded areas, I mean, avoid planting the arrowroots under a tree. Plant your arrowroots in an open space like a field, they'll do well there. Ensure good drainage to prevent water logging, which can cause tube rot. Of course, once the water is logged so much, the tubers or will rot. The arrowroot tubers, which are the tubers, will rot. Okay? And for the harvesting, they mature approximately after 6 months. That is the duration that is approximated for the arrowroot growth. So you will observe how are your arrowroots doing. If you notice they have not yet grown after the 6 months, give them some time for them to grow. And mostly by the time it's 6 months, they will have already have grown and you will harvest. Harvesting is also easy. You just harvest them the same way that you harvest the other root tuber plants. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. You have come to the end of the vlog. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, share, hit that notification bell so that each and every time I'll be uploading, you will be notified. Till we meet in the next one. Bye bye.